Let's bring in the top Republican on the House Judiciary Committee, Ohio Congressman Jim Jordan. He's also the author of the upcoming book, Do What You Said You Would Do. I think a lot of Americans would like to see that happen. Thank you very much, Congressman. Good to have you here. You know, one of the fascinating things here is the way this was all perpetuated through these channels of Clinton operatives and journalists who kept picking up the story despite the fact that there wasn't a lot of connection there. This is a quote from Glenn Greenwald on the Hillary Clinton-Jake Sullivan connection to all of this. He says both Hillary and Jake Sullivan were pretending that they had just learned about this shocking story, this is my aside, of a connection between the Trump server and this Russian bank from Slate, when it was printed in Slate, when in fact it was Hillary's own lawyers and researchers who spent weeks pushing the story to both the FBI and friendly journalists like Foer, which is Franklin Foer, at The Atlantic. Your thoughts?
Yeah, and what's always the hook to get the journalist to bite? The hook is when there's an investigation. If the FBI, the United States of America, sees fit to start an investigation, well, that's the news hook. Remember, that's a term Jim Comey used, and Jim Comey implemented this same strategy when he went up in early January 2017, when it was President-elect Trump, briefs him, gives him the intelligence briefing, then sticks around to talk to him about the dossier, which was just as bogus, by the way, as this Russia bank connection to the Trump server. I mean, just as bogus. But when Comey briefs the president-elect of the United States about it, oh, that's the news hook for the press to run with this. This is the game. And I think it's interesting. The very first sentence in Mr. Durham's indictment, 27-page indictment, by the way, the very first sentence refers to the fact that this stuff was in the news the week before the 2016 presidential election. Yeah.
This was very successfully peddled around. And now there are a lot of people in the media who have egg on their face because they ran with it. And they, continued to sort of stoke the fire, even though there wasn't a true connection. And even after, I might add, it was even after the IG report in 2019, even after that, that showed that there was no connection with this server and the Trump campaign. So I guess the question, I think about the title of your book, Do What You Said You Would Do. I think a lot of people say, so we hear this stuff and it makes us really unhappy.
Sure.
But nobody ever seems to pay the price for any of it. Yeah. Is there any reason why Americans think that now anything's going to be different because of this indictment?
No, great question, Martha. You're right. Most Americans are like, when is someone going to jail for all this stuff, all the lies that we were fed, and then the media continue to feed them to us? But I think it's important. The two guys indicted, Klein-Smith and now Zussman, both of them didn't lie to Durham and the investigators. So this is not like your typical false claim to the investigative team doing the investigation. These are lies that took place on the front end of the whole Trump-Russia investigation. So I told someone the other day, this is not a lie. This is the lie. This is Zussman in September of 2016 telling the lie that helps launch this whole thing, this whole media story and the whole FBI investigation. That's a different animal, and I think that's why you have a 27-page indictment starting with the sentence that Mr. Durham started with. So I'm actually encouraged by what I see from Mr. Durham based on this indictment.
Yeah, that this is sort of the nut of it, right? So Sussman goes to the FBI. I'm just a good citizen. I'm very concerned about this connection that I'm seeing between this server and the Russian bank, the Trump server and the Russian bank. He says, I'm not working on anyone's behalf. I'm not, this is according to the indictment. Right. He says it's not true. I'm not working on anyone's behalf. I'm just a concerned citizen. Turns out Perkins Coie, the Clinton law firm, that they're all behind this, according to this indictment, which I will say again, he says is not true. But my question to you, one more time, is just, where do you think this goes next? As you go through this, do you think it will go anywhere?
I hope so, but I think it's important to understand who Zussman went to. He didn't go to just anyone in the FBI. He went to the chief counsel, Jim Baker, the same Jim Baker who David Corn had given information about the dossier. So this wasn't the first time Mr. Baker had taken information that we know was not accurate and then it sent it on to Lisa Page, Peter Strzok, Amy McCabe, the investigative team. So I'm kind of curious what Jim Baker has to say about all this. He has to be a witness in this case. He's the one who received the information and supposedly didn't know who Zussman was representing.